Well, I screwed up. Oops.
Somehow I managed to get myself into debt. I have not maxed out a credit card since my early 20s. And I thought I had learned my lesson. Apparently not. Well, what happened? I have no money, so that kind of happened. Yeah. So when I was in my early 20s, first marriage, right out of high school, got married when we were 20, we moved to a place for my ex-husband's work. Couldn't afford it, but was young and dumb and figured we would make it work. And so everything got put onto the credit card, which then led into cash advances from his paycheck, which then led into having to get another credit card, which then led into travel back home for random things. And so snowball effect, tons of debt. 2 years later after our divorce, all the debt was mine. And it took me 5 years to get out from under all of that debt. And I swore I would never, ever do that again. I mean, I was mostly successful for like 15 years. I had no extra debt. You know, any debt that I had was always quickly taken care of. So like if I had charges on my credit card within a month or two, it was always paid off. It was never, creeping up where I couldn't pay for it. A year and a half ago, I got divorced, and I had actually been ready to divorce for about 3 years. My ex-husband and I, we had kind of a sit down, hash out. He asked for us to give it another try. We did. And I quit my job. We sold our house. We bought an RV and we traveled the United States for 8 months. It was supposed to be a whole year, but we only made it 8 months. And he was going to be working as we traveled. So that way we weren't using up our savings from selling the house. And then we would, start over. There's a lot of issues with where we were at. We wanted to kind of get a clean break, start over, make a go of it, try. It didn't work, whatever, didn't work. We ended up using all of the money in savings. My nest egg that I had been squirreling away since before I had gotten remarried to my last husband, all of it gone, used up in travel. Never had the income that was supposed to support the travel. So when we finally settled, we were just scraping by. But I was determined, even in that dire situation where there was no income or just very little, we were not going to go into debt. We were going to be very smart about our choices. And it worked. And I still managed to keep my debt free and clear with all that. When I was able to finally file for the divorce, I had started working again. So I wasn't working during this time. I was homeschooling both my kids. That's how it worked out. So I couldn't get a job. I would stay at home. But obviously, if I was making the choice to separate myself from my partner in the family, I needed to be able to support bills, myself, kids. And I started selling on Amazon and a couple other platforms, and it was okay. I was figuring it out, never done anything like it before, definitely just kind of jumped in head first, which I'd always feared doing. It was my first big attempt at doing something for myself. It was doing okay. The divorce went through. I was able to continue sales. I was able to pay bills. I wasn't making a lot of money, but it was enough that everything was covered. My best month, I brought in $1,200, which anybody that's done selling, you have to have a lot of products in Amazon and in your other locations available to sell to make a very small profit. The average is like $5,000 invested in product, and you're lucky if you make $500 to $1,000. So I didn't have a lot of money to work with, and I was bringing in between the $500 and $800 on most of the other months. And it worked out really well. Long story short, time went by, I wasn't paying attention, I wasn't being careful, and I made a lot of mistakes, and it caught up with me, and there were some issues that I couldn't figure out in time, and my account got closed down. When my account got closed down, I tried not to stress about it. I was taking my time trying to figure it out. Well, you shouldn't do that. with Amazon. Don't take your time figuring it out. Get it figured out right away. Because once all of my products were in deactivated listings, they wanted it out of their warehouse, right? It's not moving, it's not selling, it's taking up space. They don't want it there. So everything got purged. Every single one of my products from all of their warehouses, which had been traveling to all different states across the United States, came home. And so for a series of 3 months, I just kept getting deliveries on my front doorstep of all the products. A lot of them ended up getting liquidated because the cost of having them returned wasn't worth it. And so I lost out on the products and the money and anything else. And that happened in January of this year. And it wasn't until March when I started getting all of the stuff coming back, I realized, oh crap, what the hell am I gonna do? I'm screwed. This is done, this is over. This was my income and it's gone. Again, tried to not panic, tried to stay positive, tried to find some opportunities, tried to return some things, couldn't because it had been just over a year, products of being moved around to different warehouses, some selling, some not. I didn't have receipts, couldn't get stuff returned, couldn't get my money back. So I've got piles sitting all over my house of random crap that I don't know what to do with, so that's another story. But with my kids, I was still partially homeschooling them, and I was trying to get them integrated back into the school system, a little kind of half and half. So the little one was doing mornings in the public school and afternoons homeschooling, and then the teenager was doing every other day at the high school for some electives and supplementing, and then the opposite days were at home homeschooling. So I didn't have the freedom to just go and get a job when this started happening. And that's why I had started doing the selling, was because it was flexible and I could do stuff around it. Tried doing a couple other platforms and Etsy and eBay and even the Walmart platform. Nothing was working out. Just, it wasn't working out. Then summer came up, and then it's summertime. So there is not any other option of childcare. Yes, my ex-husband does have the youngest on a lot of days, like a lot of days of the week, but because of his work schedule, he takes jobs as opposed to having a schedule type of job. So he'll be gone for a week at a time, and then he'll be home for 3 weeks to a month. He'll be working nights, and so he'll be sleeping through the day. And then the next week he'll be working early mornings and can't do anything till the afternoon. It's all over the place. So I haven't been able to successfully find a job where childcare is covered. But I kept on trying to be positive. So I had a huge problem happening. Like, I knew my credit card was starting to creep up every month. I was definitely not making payments as much as I was making charges on it. And it wasn't until the end of June where I had I'm in trouble. I had my car insurance, which is a 6-month. It's the premium or the plan or whatever it is. I get charged every 6 months for my car's insurance, so it's not monthly. And that came out at the end of June, which was $580, which is a lot of money, but that was the end of June. And then right at the beginning of July, my teenager's math tuition, because she does math tutoring, that was taken out at the beginning of July, which was $300, charged on the same credit card. And then 1 week after that, I had the premium 6-month insurance for that RV that we still have, that's in my name. It had a loan, so we have to have full coverage even though it's just sitting in a storage lot. I still have to pay full insurance on it. So that got taken out. So that was like $1,500, all just like pulled out, gone. And that maxed out my credit card. I was already getting close to the limit. I was trying really hard to keep it down so if there's emergencies, I still had a backup, but that just not only maxed it out, it went above it. I got an alert saying that I had 10 days, I think it was. I had 10 days to pay down to the maximum limit. Otherwise, it'd be like the interest would be tacked on by the day, which was insane. Please be careful of your credit cards. And then I had my regular monthly payment that I still had to make by the end of the month. So this was boom, 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 boom. It's time to dig in and do a hard look at my finances to find out where I went off the trail, went off the rocks, went off the rail, whatever, where I went wrong, and if there's any hope of recovery, and hopefully, some positive news as to how I'm going to get myself back out of it. Positive.
The first thing that I needed to do was make sure I wasn't having any panic or anxiety about this, because let's be honest, when you realize you're in debt and you don't know how to get out of it, that is probably the most intimidating feeling to go through. But I'm going to tell you, don't. Just stop, breathe, and buckle down, right? Like you can't do any solutions. You can't problem solve. If you're in panic mode, you're going to go into avoidance. You're going to run from the problem. You're going to be in denial about the problem and not solve it. So first things first, give yourself worst case scenario, accept it, and then just sit down and dig in. I decided that I needed to pull up my finances. I logged into my bank accounts. I started checking out my savings, my checking, my credit card, my other accounts. And I realized I needed to print it off and have it in hand, because I couldn't be flipping around through different tabs while trying to make sense of everything and write it down. So that was my first step, was don't get overwhelmed. Don't freak out. Just start pulling up the numbers and go from there. There's a lot of different options online for doing budgeting, but I don't think I was ready to do budgeting yet. And that's why I decided to just print off some calendar pages and write out what's been going on each month with my charges, my expenses, my deposits, any income. And I went back to April because that's when things started to really get uncomfortable and shaky. So I just sat down with my information from my statement and just plugged in the numbers, just wrote out when I had money coming into the account and when there was charges leaving it. And that seemed to work really well. And I got a lot of really clear information down until I had the unfortunate, I only printed off my checking account, and it's the credit card that I am working on. So then I had to go back to my bank account and print off the information from the credit card. That one I just did in an Excel spreadsheet with the numbers. It was a lot easier to read, and I just broke it apart by month: April, May, June, July. I highlighted out where the charges were. I highlighted out where my deposits were, and then I just compiled it onto a regular piece of notebook paper. Nothing fancy. I just needed to see my numbers. So I added together my charges from checking and credit card, and I added together my deposits from checking and credit card, and then I subtracted the difference to find out what was going on for each month. And I was a little bit surprised. I didn't think I had racked up that many charges versus my income. And that was an eye-opener. I was way over every single month, overspending. But let's be honest, I wasn't actually overspending per se. I just did not have the income to balance out what my expenses were. So clearly I'm close to $1,000 less in my income than what my charges and expenses are. So I just managed to rack up over $3,000 on my credit card from 4 months of just not being able to pay off the difference. So my next step was, after I realized what my numbers were looking like, I needed to actually make a monthly budget of my expenses. What were my fixed expenses, what are my variable expenses, so I could see where that $1,000, which is my only income, is going to cover, and what I actually need to be bringing in after that point to not be in debt and to get ahead. And that really brought me so much relief. You wouldn't think so. You would think like, oh crap, I'm only making $1,000. My expenses are closer to $2,000. I'm screwed. What am I going to do? But no, because that let me know I just needed to get a part-time job. I needed to get, a couple other finances for balancing out only $250 a week, $1,000 a month to get myself in a better place. And $250 a week is not a big number that feels scary and overwhelming. Now, these are just bare minimum because I also have the car insurance and RV insurance that's going to be coming up soon. And moving forward, I just want to get everything compiled onto one place. So my credit card, all of the charges are leaving from the credit card, and all of my limited income is going to be deposited into the credit card. And that just makes it so much easier to get a clear window of where the money is at and where it's going. Hopefully in the future, when I get some more income, I'll be able to start doing a budget. And there are so many free, easy templates to play with online. So that's going to be a really fun one in the future when I have the money to start plugging into it.